Greetings, my fellow Tiponians, and greetings, National Association of Tippos, and to everybody that is there in Cherokee Nation. I'm sorry that I'm not available to be joining you in February for the National Association of Tippos conference. It's really great to know that it's finally back in person. I am not able to attend because here in the state of Nevada, we have some of our sacred places that are on death row. And it's very important that I share this information with you and why I'm not able to be with you guys today. So I appreciate that. My name is Mashawn Eben. I'm a member of the Reno Sparks Indian Colony. My father's people are from the Pyramid Lake Paiute tribe, and my mother's people are from the Death Valley Timbisha Shoshone tribe. I manage the Cultural Resource Program, and I'm the Tribal Historic Preservation Officer for the Reno Sparks Indian Colony. The Reno Sparks Indian Colony is located in Reno, Nevada. We are comprised of Washoe, Paiute, and Shoshone people, and I want to talk a little bit about with you the plight that we're going through. So I want to give you a little background first and foremost. We are the Washoe, Paiute, and Shoshone people. This is the state of Nevada. We do not recognize fences, lines, and boundaries, although that's what is shown here. We have many bands, Paiute bands, Shoshone bands, and of course our Southern Shoshone bands and the Washoe people here too. But we were all interrelated and had bands and different types of Paiute bands as the Paiute Nation. And as you know, the federal government put us all on reservations and individualized us. Today, our plight that we are fighting is against lithium mining that's coming to the our state homelands of Nevada. And our Nevada homelands are becoming a sacrifice zone for this new so-called electric vehicles. So I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about that and why we're fighting so hard to protect our sacred areas. We are recording right now in our small exhibit at our Cultural Resource Program in our TIPO office here in Reno, Nevada. We have a small exhibit that we worked with the W.M. Keck Earth Mining and Engineering Museum from the University of Nevada, Reno. Our exhibit is called Wounded Souls, Extracting from the Land and Our Spirits. It's an exhibit on the effects of mining. I'm not going to take you through the exhibit, but it is a powerful exhibit. It's getting a lot of move. We've had hundreds and hundreds of people coming through. We have a lot of dignitaries coming through. People are watching. The world is watching what's happening here in Nevada because of lithium mining. So I'm going to walk you through really fast, and we're going to go to the section of Protect Pihimaha, our sacred space of what we're trying to protect, an important traditional cultural property of the Reno Sparks Indian Colony, of all the tribes of Nevada, what's very important for us to save, and why I told you our homelands are being sacrificed, and not only our homelands, the habitat for important species, and also our earth is going to be, that's why I said our earth is up on death row, and we need to fight hard to protect what is ours, because it's happening in our country. It's going to start coming to your country as well. We want to show you a little bit a part of why we're fighting so hard over here against Lithium Nevada Corporation, who's coming to sacrifice our Nevada homelands. We are here to talk about Protect Pihimaha, Thacker Pass. Thacker Pass project was brought about a couple years ago, several years ago, and during the heat of COVID, the Bureau of Land Management, Winnemucca Office District, started the NEPA process, the National Environmental Policy Act process. And during that process was in the heat of COVID, and they only notified 3 tribes. In the state of Nevada, there are 28 tribes. They took it upon themselves to only notify 3 tribes. Now that we have a Freedom of Information Act, we know that notification was only 1 letter. And in the past, tribes from around that area were talking about, hey, that place is important. There was a terrible massacre, 2 massacres up there in this area, and it's a sacred space, and we want to keep that sacred and keep it left alone. And so during that time of the NEPA process, the NEPA went 9 months, and then they closed it. And the record of decision was signed on January 21st, 2021. And that's when all the regional tribes started to find out, because it was kept very quiet. And this project is so big, 12,000 acres, going down 400 feet. This is hard rock mining according to the 1872 General Mining Act, and so large and big. And the annihilation of medicines, our Paiute and Shoshone medicines, annihilation of habitat. This is some of the last old growth sagebrush with a very important sage grouse, lek areas. All mule deer goes through, antelope goes through. We collect important medicines out there. People perform ceremonies out there. This is an important place, and there was no tribal consultation with any of the tribes. And that's what's important, why we're trying to protect this area, that this place is a traditional cultural property. It has meaning to the Paiute and Shoshone people. It is although it is not formally designated a traditional cultural district or a traditional cultural property, it does have all the elements because it is built into the roots of our community, of our heritage, and our culture. So I want to talk a little bit about what happened out there during the environmental impact statement. That really should have been a 4-year process. As you know, my fellow TIPOs and my fellow cultural resource managers out there, these projects that are that big are important to really do a very thorough environmental impact statement. That did not happen here. In 2021, when the record of decision was signed, the record of decision, the cultural resource inventory, the environmental impact statement, the historic properties treatment plan, the memorandum of agreement, all of those guiding permitting documents do not talk about the massacre. I want to talk about 2 massacres that happened before the coming of Europeans. A warring tribe came and massacred some Paiute people there, and that's how we came to the name of Pihimaha, because of the first massacre. I want to talk more about the second massacre that occurred on September 12th, 1865. Here, the United States Cavalry, the Nevada Cavalry, was coming here after the Civil War and trying to take care of the native problem out here. Settlers were calling in the cavalry, lying to the cavalry and the government that our ancestors were attacking and terrorizing them, which is fully untrue. So on September 12th, 1865, a Captain Payne of the United States Nevada Cavalry came and attacked a small village out there. That we know that there was 31 to about 70 people camping. The cavalry camped about 2-3 miles away, and in their journal notes, which BLM has these notes in their own offices. The cavalry notes stated that, we can see the campfires and we'll attack early in the dawn. And they did just that. They attacked early in the morning. They surprised our ancestors. People came out of their houses and began to fight the cavalry, and I don't want to say it a battle because you know that they always say it's a battle. This was a massacre, and our people came out and ran, and a lot of people died. There was a lot of survivors, and one of the cavalrymen that was a part of the cavalry took a couple of the Indian babies. Those Indian babies were raised in the white world but came back to the tribe. We have several writings about the September 12th, 1865 massacre, and those are 2 weeks after the massacre. Like on September 23rd, 1865, newspapers started to pick up this, that there was a battle and a massacre, and those were described in that area. And then we also have 3 years after the massacre, our people were, 3 years after the massacre, a federal surveyor came and started to write in his journals. He's out there surveying for mapping, and he writes in his journal, which we have copies of, that this is where Captain Payne whipped a bunch of Indians, and there are skulls and bones to be laying around. And so we know our ancestors were out there and are part of the earth now. And why our people were not able to go back to rebury in our traditional manners was because the cavalry had posted men there, and Paiute and Shoshone people were shot on sight. So we also have, we do know through our oral histories of this massacre in this area, we know where the cavalry was, we know where the cavalry were camped the night before, and we also know that this is one area where we also have other burials because of the mountain areas, and we also know that our people were always out there. We have medicines that we used during COVID that people were collecting. Our people still go out there today. I want to show you one of the areas where Lithium Nevada's corporation says that this is not a sacred area. It's an alleged sacred area, saying that the Paiute and Shoshone people are lying. And I want to show to you that this is what we call Sentinel Rock. We have other names for it as well. But right here is one of the main points that will be destroyed, and that scares us. We were just out there a few days ago. We had a fire going. We always go out there. We say our prayers. We're out there with the elders, with our language speakers, and so that we can still continue to make sure that our area is not sacrificed for the big lie of electric vehicles. So that's why we're fighting hard. We had a march on January 5th, 2023. Hundreds of people came from all over to support us. Back 2 years ago, a local rancher filed a lawsuit against BLM Winnemucca as well as Lithium Nevada Corporation. So there was a rancher and four environmental organizations, the Reno Sparks Indian Colony and the Burns Paiute Tribe. But we're not giving up. We're still continuing to fight. I want to talk a little bit about how lithium will destroy the earth. You cannot mine your way out of a climate crisis. Right now, there are 16,000 lithium claims in the state of Nevada. Those claims are going to start coming to your guys' territories as well. We must stand and work and fight together because we can no longer allow extractive corporations to take our water and to take all the resources that our ancestors relied on and that we rely on today. Although you think electric vehicles will be good for the earth, they're really not. Lithium has to be mined to be put into the lithium battery. And so that's why I'm saying the state of Nevada is on death row for mining. And when you mine, hard rock mining, you know what that goes into. It's going to take hundreds and hundreds of thousands of gallons of water in one of the driest regions on earth here in the state of Nevada. 500,000 gallons of water is used to produce 1 ton of lithium. We don't have that here in the state of Nevada. We have been in a drought. We're one of the driest regions in the country. Billions in public subsidies, according to the Inflation Reduction Act that President Biden just signed, billions of dollars are being sent to mining corporations and electric vehicle manufacturing companies to make sure that lithium is mined. Please know that mining lithium in the state of Nevada is wreaking havoc on our culture and on our people and on our homelands and on the water. You water protectors and you land protectors, we may need you. For more information and to keep updated, our current information is on protectthakerpass.org. protectthakerpass.org. And please watch out, and we'll send through the National Association of TIPOs, we'll get information out to you guys all. Thank you. Have a really good conference. They're always really good. And good luck, and we fight the hard fight, and thank you.
Hello, Tribal Historic Preservation Officers. I can't see you, but you all look great, and I hope you're having a great conference. And so I will try to give sort of the legal and federal agency context for this project. I should say my name is Will Falk. I am an attorney. I represent the Reno Sparks Indian Colony and the Summit Lake Paiute Tribe in Section 106 consultation with the Bureau of Land Management and specifically the Winnemucca District Office, Humboldt River Field Office. But I think that there probably are some underlying national strategies shared by the Bureau of Land Management, by the Forest Service, by the Army Corps of Engineers, by all of the federal agencies that are tasked with permitting these mines. I think that they do talk a lot, and I think their lawyers especially talk a lot, and I think that they try to push strategies that make it so they have to do as less work as possible and make it as less likely as possible that the tribes won't be too active in consultation and possibly slow down these projects. The Bureau of Land Management in the Thacker Pass campaign has used a really bad definition of consultation, I believe. So this is the Thacker Pass lithium mine is the biggest open pit lithium mine in the world. It would be the biggest lithium mine in the United States. And there were probably 15 or 20 tribes that attach religious or cultural significance to Thacker Pass, and yet BLM only originally identified 3 tribes as needing to be consulted. None of these 3 tribes had tribal historic preservation offices, by the way. So someone like Michon, who is a very experienced tribal historic preservation office, she was left out of the notifications for this project, and I think it most likely was because they knew that she would insist on a robust consultation process, and they didn't want to have to deal with that. But what BLM did in this case was they identified these 3 tribes, and they simply mailed a letter to the tribes. And about 5 or 6 days after mailing this letter without receiving a response, they reported to the Nevada State Historic Preservation Office that they had been consulting with these tribes for years before they sent this letter, and that the tribes had not presented any concerns about historic properties in the Thacker Pass vicinity. We've learned through the Nevada State Historic Preservation Officer, who has some statutory responsibilities to provide concurrence on different decisions made by BLM, and who can provide suggestions about how to perform better tribal consultation. We've learned that the BLM Nevada office in general has taken the position that they do not need to provide any sort of documentation or direct reference to tribal consultation to the Nevada SHPO. So in the Thacker Pass example, when the 3 tribes, when BLM told the Nevada SHPO that they've been consulting for years with these 3 tribes, when the Nevada SHPO asks, okay, well, can we see the documentation, or not the documentation of specific locations, but just did this, when did this consultation happen? Where did it happen? Who was there? And generally, what concerns did they notify? BLM Nevada appears to be taking the position that they will not provide that information to the Nevada SHPO. So the Nevada SHPO is left to provide concurrence without this supporting documentation, without knowing whether what BLM reported actually happened. Now, BLM in the Thacker Pass project never picked up a phone to call a tribal office or a tribal council member, didn't send any follow-up emails after sending a letter. And in fact, after they sent the first letter, COVID-19 hit, and BLM apparently sent a couple more letters to those 3 tribes over the course of the next year. They did fast track this project, so it all happened in less than a year. That's one of the main ways that they can cut down on consultation, is by doing these projects at warp speed and not giving tribes enough time to analyze the documents, the cultural resource inventories, those kinds of things. But that's what happened. Or here, COVID hit, and they still didn't try to call anyone or email anyone. They just sent letters. And in documents like the draft environmental impact statement and the final environmental impact statement, they again said that they had been consulting with the tribes for several years. They didn't say that they sent letters to the tribes and didn't get a response. They simply said that consultation had happened and there were no concerns presented. We also found that BLM overlooked documentation of a massacre at the hands of federal cavalrymen of Paiute people in Thacker Pass. Those documents BLM possessed in their own general land office records. And it wasn't until we had already sued BLM and we were looking through their records that we found this documentation of the massacre. So BLM had documents of the massacre, had the records of it, and they didn't report that in any of the public-facing documents, the environmental impact statement, the record of decision. Possibly because they never actually found it, possibly because they recognized the controversy that would surround it, and hoped that no one would find those documents. They just, consultation to at least the BLM in Nevada simply means an attempt to notify a tribe of a project. It's not actually a two-way conversation. They will try to withhold documentation of tribal consultation from other tribes and from people that need concurrences, and they often don't actually do what they say they're going to do, or what their handbooks and manuals say as required of them. Yeah, I think it's, one of the last things I want to leave you all with is the Thacker Pass Lithium Mine Project is a project for lithium for electric car batteries. We all know that climate change is terrible and that we need to fight it. But I don't think that destroying more of native culture is the right way to do it. I don't believe that destroying more of the land is actually going to save the land, and that we need to have some conversations about reducing our consumption before we go and destroy what's left of native land. I think both political parties are going to be very enamored with the idea of forcing these projects through. I think from the Republican perspective, there's a lot of big business money to be made by this so-called green energy revolution. From the Democratic perspective, there's also a lot of money to be made, but there's also this sort of climate change fighting thing. I would imagine that many of you live in areas where this next wave of extraction is coming. They're going to try and bill it as green, and then they will act like you're somehow getting in the way by insisting that they actually consult with you before they destroy your sacred sites.